Welcome to JK Tells a Story, where real-life dramas unfold. Sit back and enjoy today's tale. Marcus Sullivan loved completing real estate transactions, whether he was buying a home or selling. When he bought a house, he always believed he was getting a good deal, a house that was undervalued and could potentially fetch him tens of thousands of dollars when he sold it. When he sold a house, he liked to receive a big check confirming his original estimate of its value. Marcus was 52 years old. He had renovated houses for 32 years, and he was good at it. It provided him with a very good income. He lived in a very nice house in Buckhead, which he actually renovated himself. The fact that he bought it at a very low price and it was in a very prestigious area of Atlanta provided him with instant capital that was double what he paid for it once some improvements were made. Given that he bought it with cash like all his properties, his equity doubled as soon as he renovated it because there was no mortgage. Marcus came from a middle-class family. When he graduated from high school, his family didn't have enough money to send him to college. He became a licensed carpenter and then a licensed cabinet maker. For a young man, he was making good money in the construction business, and because he lived at home, he was able to save a significant portion of his salary each month. He was planning to attend a local college and begin studying for a degree in mechanical engineering. However, his work renovating houses distracted him. The way he started was almost an accident. While he was building cabinets for a friend in an area with affordable housing, Marcus noticed a nearby condo where furniture and belongings were being removed. There was a for sale sign in the yard. He decided to go to the condo and talk to the owner. However, it turned out that the person who did most of the talking was the owner's realtor. He showed Marcus a two-bedroom condo on the first floor. It was in terrible condition. The carpets were worn and stained. There were holes in the walls. The sliding doors were hanging on one hinge. The cabinets were ruined. The windows were painted over and wouldn't open, and the appliances didn't work properly. The realtor said the tenants had badly damaged the place, and the out-of-town owner wanted to get rid of it as quickly as possible. Marcus asked how much. The realtor said, $150,000, and he added, based on comparative data, similar condos in good condition in this area sell for $225,000. Based on his knowledge of construction costs, Marcus estimated that he could renovate the place better than new for about $25,000 to $30,000. However, Marcus did not have $150,000. He only had enough for a 20% down payment. The realtor suggested a bank he was familiar with that specialized in rehabilitation loans. Loans that include the necessary funds to renovate a property. The realtor said he would help Marcus with the loan process. Luckily, Marcus had good credit and a history of on-time payments. However, he had to provide a seemingly endless list of his finances, his estimates as a contractor of the cost of improvements, and realtor comparative data on similar condos in the area. The loan approval took several weeks, after which he became the owner of the property. Since Marcus had a day job, he could only work on the condo in his spare time, and renovations were slow. So he hired some unemployed workers for the day to do some of the work. This turned out to be a big mistake. Not only was their work rushed, but Marcus had to correct some of their shoddy work. All of this took up time while Marcus paid his mortgage, homeowner's insurance, utilities, taxes, and condo fees. Marcus's solution was to take 2 weeks off and work on the condo 12 hours a day, including weekends. It was hard, and he made mistakes about what he needed to do and in what order. He also discovered that the entire air conditioning system would have to be replaced, which meant several thousand in unplanned expenses. Using his realtor, Marcus put the condo on the market before it was completely ready. Surprisingly, the buyer was a neighbor who wanted to buy a place for his mother. Marcus told the potential buyer to bring his mother to the condo, and she could choose the colors and carpeting. When Marcus finished his renovations, the condo was better than new. New tile in the kitchen and bathrooms, new wood floors, new cabinets, new stainless steel appliances, and of course, a new air conditioning system. The new owner agreed to pay the asking price of $250,000. Marcus invested $40,000 into renovating the place. This included paying qualified tradesmen for first-class work on tile, flooring, electrical, and HVAC. After paying the realtor's commission and some minor closing costs, Marcus walked away with $35,000 after just 3 months of work. He could have earned more if he had done things differently, but he was happy with his first investment and vowed not to make the same mistakes again. Throughout the year, many seminars were held on real estate resale. Marcus visited many of them before investing in other properties. Most importantly, he learned about hard money lenders, private investor organizations specialized in providing money, including renovation costs, to property renovators. Simply submit your proposal along with the purchase price, renovation estimates, and comparison data, and if they approve your project, you'll get your money. The disadvantage is that they charge a very high interest rate, up to 15%. They may also charge points. However, if your project only takes 4 months, the interest you pay is only 5%. In addition, these loans are processed very quickly, sometimes in a matter of days. This eliminates endless paperwork and the long time required to obtain a bank loan. To find the perfect properties to buy, Marcus became a realtor. Thus, he had access to the multiple listing service. He could find suitable properties online, visit them, and go inside with his lockbox key to view them before making an offer. He could also independently study comparative data and find out how much similar properties cost. Most importantly, he could pay himself a commission both when buying a property and when selling it. Over the next few years, Marcus bought, renovated, and sold numerous properties. He started with small, inexpensive condos, moved to larger townhomes, and eventually to basic family homes. He saved his profits and used them to increase down payments by taking out smaller loans. He eventually accumulated enough money to buy houses with cash. This greatly sped up the selling process and allowed him to buy properties from anxious sellers at very low prices. Marcus also began working less on real estate on his own. He had a good contractor with a team of experienced workers. They soon learned Marcus's preferences in terms of flooring, carpets, lighting, colors, etc. And Marcus could simply show them the property and let them do their job. He was able to keep the cost of the renovation to a minimum because he was able to provide ongoing work for the contractor and his team. Marcus's job became finding properties, purchasing them, and then handing them over to a contractor. Sometimes he had 2 or 3 projects at the same time in different stages of renovation. At the start of this story, Marcus had a net worth of over $1 million, most of it in cash. His annual income fluctuated with the economy and the vagaries of the real estate market, but was almost always in the 6-figure range. He put most of it back into his cash account so he could buy properties with cash. However, he lived modestly and frugally in a middle-class home, and few of his friends or family knew his true financial condition. 5 years after he became a major player in the market, Marcus married the former Miss Caroline Whitmore. Caroline was an extremely attractive woman, several years his junior. Her family was wealthy, and Caroline was their only child. However, they never looked down on Marcus and his lack of education because they knew that he earned more than enough, and they understood that their daughter and Marcus were madly in love with each other. In fact, they respected him very much. Marcus and Caroline had 3 daughters: Amanda, Jessica, and Ashley. They were all adults now, leaving home and getting married with small children. However, only Amanda lived nearby, about 2 hours away. They all made it a ritual to meet on important holidays: Christmas and New Year's, Independence Day, and Thanksgiving. Caroline worked as a materials manager for a manufacturing company. Her job was to ensure that the resources needed for daily work were ordered on time and available when needed. This included hundreds and hundreds of items. She worked with dozens of vendors and suppliers every month. She was good at her job and really enjoyed it. The day it all started was a Friday. Marcus had just closed on another house deal. It was a middle-class house in a mixed working-class neighborhood. The previous owners were an elderly couple who had lived there for over 30 years. Unfortunately, the man recently passed away. The couple's children, who lived 1,500 miles away, agreed that they would take their aging mother with them and find a place for her in a nursing home near their home. However, they had to decide what to do with the couple's home. The realtor they worked with, a colleague of Marcus's, noted that the house was a slow seller. It was neglected and in dire need of renovation. He suggested they contact Marcus as a potential renovator buyer. Marcus was invited into the house to inspect it. He had an experienced eye for the major elements of a home that needed renovation. The foundation, roof, electrical system, and HVAC system all needed restoration. He also examined the outside. He found cracks in the backyard walls, holes in the driveway, and weeds where the lawn should have been instead of grass. Finally, he noticed that all the old furniture was still in the house. The kitchen was filled with pots and pans, cooking utensils, and dishes. Plus, the two-car garage was filled with patio furniture, tools, folding tables, and plenty of kitchen and serving equipment. "It looks like the old couple once ran a catering business," Marcus observed. The old couple's children knew that comparable houses were valued at $355,000. Marcus indicated that he would have to invest at least $50,000 and 3 months of his time to renovate the house. He went on to explain that if he were to buy it, he would need to make a profit of $50,000 to make the purchase worth his time. Therefore, the best he could offer them was $250,000. He told them that he would buy the house for cash and would be responsible for removing all unnecessary items. Since the house was paid off many years ago, this meant that the children would split the $250,000, minus closing costs. What's more, by using a real estate attorney Marcus knew, they could close the deal within 5 days. The children didn't have to think long about the proposal. They accepted it immediately. The closing took place the following Friday at 2 p.m., and Marcus left the closing agent's office with the keys at 3:30 p.m. Since it was already late in the afternoon, instead of stopping by his office, Marcus decided to go straight home. He thought he might take Caroline out to celebrate another successful purchase, as he did when he bought or sold any of his properties. Caroline's car was in the garage when he arrived home, which was a surprise because she wasn't usually home at that time. She didn't greet him when he came through the door. Marcus, as he often did when he got home, poured himself 2 neat shots of Captain Morgan rum to ease the stress of the day. As he did this, he heard the shower running in the upstairs bathroom. After taking off his jacket, loosening his tie, and rolling up his sleeves, he went upstairs to announce his presence. Entering his spacious bedroom, he stopped. On the bed were 2 cocktail dresses, one black and one red. Also on the bed were 2 sets of bras and panties matching the colors of the dresses. On the floor underneath the dresses were matching high heels. Black fishnet thigh-high stockings hung on the chair at Caroline's dressing table. Looking around, Marcus noticed that on Caroline's dressing table lay a bright red lipstick along with a bottle of her most expensive perfume, an anniversary gift from Marcus several years ago. "What the hell is going on?" Marcus said to himself. He decided to sit and wait in the bedroom until his wife came out of the bathroom. When Caroline came out of the bathroom, she was wrapped in a towel, and her hair was also wrapped. She didn't see Marcus sitting motionless on the side. She sat down on a chair at her dressing table and began powdering her arms, shoulders, and legs. When Caroline took the towel off her head and shook out her locks, Marcus saw that she had been at the hair salon and had her hair styled into voluminous curls. He also noticed that her nails were painted bright red. "What's happening?" Marcus asked in a relatively normal voice. Caroline jumped and let out a small scream. "Marcus, you scared me. I didn't know you were home." "I closed the deal early in the day," Marcus replied, "and decided to go home instead of going back to the office and doing nothing. I was thinking that I might take my wife out to dinner to celebrate the closing. It's been a few weeks since I've done that. However, I got the impression that you already have plans. So I ask again, what's going on?" "Yes, darling," she replied. "I do have plans for this evening. I'm going out to dinner with a friend." Marcus's internal state began to swirl, but he maintained his calm demeanor. "I'm guessing, based on the clothes you laid out, that you're not planning on going out with a girlfriend but rather a man. Moreover, since I see you've got your dancing shoes out, you intend to go dancing, right?" "Yes, darling," Caroline replied. "We thought we could go dancing to spice up the evening. Can I ask who this friend you're going on a date with is?" "Oh, it's just a friend of mine from work. His name is Richard Sterling." "Not from work, actually. He's a sales representative for the company we buy all our paper supplies from. He comes into town once a month, stays overnight, and then returns to Charlotte. He always makes time to talk to me. and the last couple of times he came, we went out to lunch together. He's a very nice man, very polite and attentive." And Caroline quickly added, "It's not really a real date. It's basically just dinner and talking with a friend." Marcus realized that Caroline would be evasive about the date, so he decided to sidestep the topic and find out her intentions. "What dress are you going to wear?" Marcus asked. "I just can't decide. Maybe you can tell me what I'd look best in." "Well," Marcus began, "red will definitely catch the attention of any man. It may be too flashy for a first date, although it goes well with your lipstick and nails. But no man can resist the appeal of a black cocktail dress," he continued. "I feel like you haven't dressed this smart for me in a long time, even on our dates. What's so special about this occasion?" Caroline blushed and did not answer his question. Marcus thought for a minute. It had really been a long time since Caroline had dressed so seductively for a date. Then he reproached himself. It had been a long time since he had suggested that they go out on the town together for a really chic evening that would include dancing. He fell into a routine of taking his wife out to dinner when he bought or sold a house, but it was usually at a nice local place like Houston's or the Cheesecake Factory or TGI Fridays. And it had been an eternity since he last asked her to dance. Marcus finished his rum but felt he needed another. He apologized, saying he would be back in a minute. Downstairs, he poured himself another glass and thought about what was happening. His wife was apparently going on a date tonight, a hot date. She tried to minimize the impact of her actions on Marcus by minimizing their significance and making him believe it was just a dinner at some local restaurant with a random friend. Clearly, from the way she prepared for her date, there was much more to it than just that. Marcus didn't know why she thought she could sell it to him so easily, but she tried. When he returned to their bedroom, Caroline had already put on her bra and panties and was now pulling thigh-high stockings over her long, curved legs. "These are new, aren't they?" Marcus asked. "I bought these today. I thought they would look great with a thigh-high slit cocktail dress." "It's been so long since you dressed like this for me," Marcus said. "Why such a special, seductive ensemble for a random friend?" Marcus asked casually. "I just wanted to look good," was Caroline's only response, trying to make it sound unremarkable but not very convincingly. "You know," Marcus said, "your breasts are more than enough to fill a black dress without a bra. If you want to look particularly alluring, you'll just have to be careful when you bend over so you don't fall out of the dress." "I didn't even think about it," Caroline replied. "I was afraid my bra would be too visible in any of these dresses. I'll do it and be careful like you said." Marcus realized that Caroline now felt that he was okay with her plans for the evening. This made her include him even more in preparation for her night out. Apparently, she even thought that Marcus might be getting his own pleasure from the prospect of his wife being with a stranger. She was very wrong. "I was going to wear a diamond necklace with matching earrings. What do you think?" "I think you should stick with the theme of black to match your dress," Marcus said enthusiastically. "I suggest your black sapphire pendant. It will hang just between your breasts like a hypnotic amulet. And you must wear matching black sapphire earrings." "You're right, darling. These would be the perfect accessories to go with the dress." "And so tempting," Caroline said as she approved of his choice. All the while, Marcus kept a calm and collected expression on his face. Inside, however, his guts were knotted and burning with anger bordering on rage. By the time Caroline had put on her cocktail dress and smoothed out the pleats around her waist and hips, she walked over to Marcus, turned her back to him, and asked him to button her dress, which he did. She stepped forward to show her leg up to the top of her stockings and admire herself. She then took her purse and packed a bag of dancing shoes. She was almost ready to leave, but she paused for a moment and turned to Marcus. "While I'm putting on my coat, could you bring me half a glass of your spiced rum? I'm feeling a little restless, and this will help calm me down." This request was unusual. In the way events unfolded, it would have been more natural for her to go downstairs and have a farewell drink with her husband. Always intuitive, Marcus sensed that she wanted to leave him in the room for a few minutes. "Of course, you're nervous. This will be an eventful evening for you. I hope you take advantage of this night's opportunities." Having said this, Marcus left the bedroom, leaving the door ajar. He stopped before going down the stairs and looked back into the bedroom between the wall and the door hinge. He saw his wife quickly walk over to his side of the bed and take something from the nightstand drawer, placing it in her purse. He didn't see what it was, but he knew what it was. Then he went downstairs, walked to the bar, and poured Caroline a glass of rum and a third double glass for himself. When he returned to the bedroom, Caroline was sitting in a chair by her dressing table. "Thank you, darling," she said. "This is exactly what I needed." "I've never seen you so beautiful," Marcus remarked. "Thank you, darling," Caroline replied. "I'm so glad you understand what this means to me. You're so tolerant of me, and I promise to make it up to you. Maybe I could get dressed again soon, and you could put on your tuxedo and we could go to dinner and the theater. And then we could come home and you could make passionate love to me." "We'll see how it goes," Marcus replied indifferently. Caroline stood up and announced, "I have to go. I don't want to be late." Marcus walked her down to the front door. "Before you go, darling, I want to take some photos of you." "Oh, I'd love that. After all, I don't dress up that often." Marcus asked Caroline to stand next to the potted plants by the glass front door, which provided a suitable backdrop for photos. Marcus said, "Turn sideways toward me, and then turn your upper body toward the camera, like models do." Caroline complied with his request, and Marcus took some photos of his beautiful wife. "Now," he said, "turn to me. Lean forward, being careful not to fall out of the dress, and lift the hem so that I can easily see a lot of leg and the top of the stocking." Almost drunk with self-satisfaction, Caroline again complied with his request, and Marcus took half a dozen more photos. Caroline looked at her watch and said, "I really have to go." She added, "I don't know when I'll be back, so please don't wait for me." Marcus answered prophetically, "Don't worry, I won't wait for you." "Finally," Caroline said, "kiss me and wish me a nice evening." Caroline leaned forward and added, "Kiss me on the cheek, so you don't smudge my lipstick." She turned her face slightly to the left and closed her eyes. Marcus struck his wife across her right cheek with considerable force. He knew it hurt because his arm was stinging from the blow. Caroline stumbled back and rested her back against the front door, completely shocked. Her expression was full of surprise and disbelief. She kept her hand on her painful cheek. The pain was significant. "Marcus, what? I don't understand. Why?" Marcus approached his wife and said, "On what planet did you ever think that I would approve of my wife going on a date with another man dressed like this?" Caroline tried to answer, "But I thought you were okay with it. You didn't seem to mind. You even helped me." Marcus struck her left cheek with equal force. Caroline was now scared. Her facial expression showed it. She didn't know how many more blows she was about to receive. He moved even closer to her face. "In what alternate dimension did you assume that I would tolerate this level of disrespect, arrogance, and contempt from an unfaithful wife? Did you really think that I would allow myself to be made a fool of by a wife who dresses like she's ready to spend all night with her lover?" Caroline already had tears in her eyes by this time. "But it was only supposed to be dinner," she cried. "This is complete nonsense," Marcus snapped. He grabbed her purse and was about to open it when Caroline screamed, "Don't! Please don't!" Marcus opened her purse and pulled out a strip of gold-wrapped condoms, holding them in front of her face. "You took them from my nightstand when you sent me downstairs for your rum, didn't you?" Caroline tried to justify herself. "They were just in case. I didn't intend to use them." "Whatever," Marcus replied angrily. Caroline began to realize how poorly she had misjudged her husband. She could see that he was holding back tears, that beneath the anger was real pain. "Please, Marcus," she begged. "It was a big mistake. I didn't want to hurt you. I really thought, I don't know what I thought. I was so fascinated by this man. He was giving me so much attention. I should never have gotten involved in this. I'll cancel the date. We'll stay home together. We can get cozy in front of the fireplace. Just you and me." "Unlikely," Marcus said. "If you stay here, I'll continue this until I'm tired of raising my hand." Marcus took his wife's coat and purse and pushed them into her hands. "I want you out of here right now. Don't even think about coming back until tomorrow afternoon because I won't let you in." With that, Marcus opened the front door and forced his wife out onto the porch to her car. He opened the car door and pushed her inside. "You won't need this," he said as he grabbed her purse and found her keys. He took the house key off the key fob. He also removed the automatic garage door remote control from the sun visor. "But where should I go?" Caroline cried. "I don't care," Marcus replied. "Stay with Amanda for a few days. It's only a 2-hour drive." 2 hours, Caroline complained. "Then find a Hampton Inn or Holiday Inn and stay there." "I don't care. Just get out of my sight." Caroline saw that her husband was completely serious and, at the same time, very angry and ready to hurt her even more. She started the car, pulled out into the street, and sped off. Marcus watched her drive away until she was out of sight. He returned to the house. When he entered, he saw a bag of dancing shoes on the floor. He thought to himself, "She probably won't need them tonight." Marcus suddenly felt tired. He walked over to his bar and poured himself another 4th double glass of spiced rum and collapsed into his leather chair. He suddenly felt a great loss and began to cry. He felt other emotions: anger, humiliation, and pain. As the thoughts in his head became more organized, he realized that he had to do something. He needed to find a way to show his extreme displeasure with his wife's actions that was so clear that it couldn't be misunderstood. He needed to do something to show that he was not going to forgive an offense of this magnitude. His first thought was to kick her out of the house. He thought about gathering all her things and putting them in large black trash bags, leaving them outside so she could pick them up when she returned. He went upstairs to look around. His wife had a huge wardrobe in her closet and dozens of pairs of shoes. She also had clothes in almost every closet in the house. She had 12 dresser drawers full of blouses, sweaters, underwear, etc. Marcus realized that it would take him a week to remove all her things from the house. He returned to the comfort of his chair and rocked back and forth, trying to think of a way to get rid of all his unhappiness. In the middle of a sip of rum, a solution occurred to him. The solution was so simple he smiled to himself. Marcus remembered that less than 5 hours ago, he bought a fully furnished house. It still had utilities connected: gas, water, and electricity. Wi-Fi was also active. He was ready to move in, and he had the keys in his briefcase. He would need to take with him only a minimal amount of clothing and accessories. Several suits and jackets, trousers, shirts for work and leisure. All this would fit into 2 large suitcases. He could pack his laptop, printer, scanner, fax, and other computer equipment in the back seat. By 11 p.m., Marcus was ready to travel. He left the house unlocked, the house key lying on the kitchen table next to the automatic garage door control. His new home was only 45 minutes from his current home. He drove in silence, not even the radio was on. He still couldn't believe that his 20-year marriage had been so badly damaged, perhaps irrevocably, and damaged by the person he loved and trusted the most. He sometimes held back tears during his trip. When he arrived at the cul-de-sac where his new home was located, it was very dark. There were no street lights. He drove slowly to his new place and pulled into the driveway. He parked in the carport, which was located next to the side entrance to the house. The double-detached garage was another 50 feet up the driveway. The porch light was on. He left it on when he finished his last inspection earlier that day. Marcus used his keys to enter the house through the side door on the back porch and began to turn on the lights. Although the house was neatly cleaned, it was still in a state of disrepair. Marcus walked from the back porch into the kitchen. The house did not have a formal dining room. Instead, there was a very large kitchen area that served as a dining area, with a 5-foot diameter round wooden table in the center and 6 matching chairs. Marcus continued into the family room, the living room, and finally the bedrooms. As he walked through the house, his thoughts determined what needed to be upgraded and changed to make the house sellable. Although he had no plans to resell the house anytime soon, he usually completely rebuilt houses of this condition. Everything was going: cabinets, flooring, appliances, bathrooms, light fixtures, everything. However, since he was going to make this house his home for the near future, He had to do the renovations gradually in order to have a place to live. Marcus began unloading his car. Although the house had a moderate amount of storage space, half of it was taken up by the late owner's belongings. The family, acting on behalf of their mother, took only what was valuable to her: clothes, photographs, family albums, a wedding china set, some works of art, etc. They even left an outdated computer system in one of the bedrooms, which they used as an office and sewing room. Marcus moved his computer and peripherals into the same space. Marcus was tired. It was late, and his 4 double-spiced rums were making their presence felt. There were sheets and blankets in the linen closet. Once he finished making the bed, Marcus stripped down to his shorts and went to bed. The next morning, he woke up early as sunlight flooded the bedroom. He didn't close the curtains before going to bed. He had a slight hangover. He quickly showered, dressed in casual clothes, and then went to the kitchen to make coffee. The elderly couple had an old-fashioned coffee maker, and luckily he found a jar of coffee in the pantry. Marcus approved of the gas stove even though it was very old. While he drank his coffee, he looked through all the cabinets and drawers in the kitchen. They were filled with all sorts of pots and pans, kitchen utensils, glassware, dry-canned foods, serving utensils, and cookbooks. Marcus noticed that there were 2 full china sets that had not been taken by the children. There was also a separate set of everyday dishes and glasses, 4 of each, which he could use instead of buying his own. In one of the drawers were keys to the house, the garages, and the shed in the back. He put them on his key ring. Also in the drawer was a recent statement from the electrical company, which Marcus used to transfer the account to his name. He also had statements for the natural gas company, city water, and internet provider. Marcus sat at the kitchen table and made a list of things to do. He called the contractor he usually worked with and left a message on his voicemail. Then he walked around the property to assess what needed to be done outside. He also estimated that it would take several men about 2 days to remove all the furniture and junk inside and place it in the backyard for the garage sale. Marcus planned to advertise the sale online and in the local paper. He thought he could get rid of most of the items for a small profit. Around 10:30 a.m., his contractor, Cesar Rodriguez, called back. "Hey Marcus, what's up?" "Cesar, I need you to come over and take a look at a new project. Are you available?" "Sure, I can be there in an hour." "Where are you?" Marcus gave him the address. When Cesar arrived, Marcus showed him around the property and explained what he wanted done. Cesar took notes and asked questions. After they finished the walkthrough, they sat at the kitchen table and discussed the project timeline and budget. "This is a lot of work, Marcus," Cesar said. "It'll take my crew at least 3 months to do everything right." "That's fine," Marcus replied. "I'm not in a hurry, but there's something I need to tell you. I'm going to be living here while you do the work, so we'll have to do it in stages." Cesar looked surprised. "Living here? What about your place in Buckhead?" Marcus hesitated for a moment, then said, "Caroline and I are separated. I'm living here now." Cesar's expression softened. "I'm sorry to hear that, man. You two seemed happy." "Yeah, well, things change," Marcus said flatly. "Anyway, let's talk about the work." They discussed the renovation priorities. Cesar would start with the exterior, the roof, the siding, the driveway, and the landscaping. Then they would move inside and work on one room at a time so Marcus would have livable space. Cesar left and Marcus was left alone again. He turned on his cell phone and noticed the calls. All but one were from his wife, starting around 2 o'clock and 3 a.m., probably around the time she returned home from her night out. He listened to them on voicemail. "Marcus," she begged, "I just came home and found that you moved out. Please talk to me. I'm so sorry that I disappointed you," and so on. The rest of the messages were similar. "Please, Marcus," she begged. "Things went so bad for me last night. I just have to explain. Don't leave me like this," and so on. Marcus skipped to the last message. It was from his daughter, Amanda. "Dad, what did you do to Mom? She called me this afternoon and cried when she told me that you moved out of the house and she doesn't know where you are. She even said that you hit her. How could you do that?" Marcus called his daughter. She immediately responded and started in on him. "Dad, I don't know what's going on between you and Mom, but you need to come home and fix it. He answered her. Did your mother tell you why I left home? Why I left her? Whatever it was, Dad, it couldn't be that bad. Actually, Amanda, it was. In fact, she left me first. What do you mean? Before you call me again, talk to your mom and demand that she tells you the absolute truth about why I left her. Then I'll talk to you again. Okay? Okay, Dad. Amanda agreed. Mom is coming to stay with us for a few days. She didn't want to stay in your big house alone. Marcus didn't hear from Amanda for 3 days. During this time, Caesar began cleaning up Marcus's yard. The first thing he did was repair the walls on each side of the house. In addition to the regular concrete blocks, he added decorative block caps to make them look more attractive and less harsh. Without asking his neighbors, Marcus asked Caesar to make similar repairs to all the concrete walls in the area. Word spread quickly, and neighbors came out of their homes to thank the new man on the block for his work. For Marcus, it was just a small added cost to get all the repairs done. He justified this by thinking that by improving all the houses, he was increasing the value of his own property. As it turns out, when Caesar was installing a new asphalt driveway at Marcus's detached garage, he intentionally ordered more asphalt than was needed to completely replace Marcus's driveway. Marcus asked Caesar's workers to inspect the driveways of each of the other houses on the cul-de-sac, filling holes and cracks and applying a protective coating to each driveway. The extra expense was not small for Marcus, but it was worth it. Meanwhile, Marcus organized and announced his garage sale. All of his neighbors on the cul-de-sac attended the sale, as well as many people from surrounding areas. It was a success, and Marcus got rid of most of the stuff that was cluttering his house and garage. He was cleaning up unsold items and putting them in Caesar's pickup truck for transport to the thrift store when he received a call from his daughter. Dad, we need to meet. I need to show and tell you things you don't know. I know what I know. I know what I saw, Marcus replied. Did your mother tell you how she treated me? Did she tell you everything? Mom told me everything. Absolutely everything, Amanda replied. And a lot of things you don't know. If this is your mom trying to talk to me or get back together, forget it. She's already shown me how little respect she has for me, Marcus responded sharply. Dad, Mom knows I'm going to talk to you, but she won't be with me. By the way, when she told me what happened, I scolded her. I can't believe she treated my dad like that. I don't blame you for anything you did. Mom needed exactly that lesson. I can come to you wherever you are and talk to you about everything that happened. It's more than you know, Amanda said, her voice trembling with emotion. Marcus felt his daughter crying. I really don't want anyone to know where I live at the moment. I'll meet you at the Houstons near your house tomorrow at 11 a.m., and we'll talk, okay? Okay, Dad, Amanda said. See you then. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart, he said before hanging up. The renovation of the house continued. Marcus ordered new windows. Many of the windows in the house were painted over and could not be opened. He also ordered French doors with additional screen doors for the family room and master bedroom. The next morning, Marcus walked into Houston's at exactly 11 a.m. His daughter was already waiting for him in the restaurant lobby. They hugged and asked for a table in the corner. Both ordered coffee. There weren't many people in the restaurant at this time of day. Marcus got straight to the point. What do you want to discuss, Amanda? If this is about what I did after your mom got dressed for her hot date, I don't regret anything. I don't have to put up with such disdainful treatment, especially from my wife, Marcus said firmly. Dad, this is more serious than you can imagine, and you won't like what I'm about to say. Not even a little bit. But first, you have to know that Mom is horrified. She's so sorry for her actions that she can't stop crying. She's very sorry for how much she hurt you. She couldn't stay with us longer than the weekend because she needed to be at home, where she was closer to work. I visited her twice. All she does is go to work, force herself to make it to the end of the day, and then return home to an empty house. After what she tried to do to me, I don't have any feelings for her, Marcus countered. Amanda pulled out 2 items from her large bag, a large brown envelope and a regular letter-sized envelope. Dad, Amanda began, Picking up the smaller envelope, "This is Mom's apology letter for you. She knows you don't want to talk to her, and even if you did, she's not sure she wants you to look at her. She is so ashamed. I can't force you to read the letter. You can just throw it away if you want. But anyway, here it is. Maybe you can read it later." "What's in the big envelope?" Marcus asked. "Dad, this is a complete description of Mom's relationship with the salesman she was on a date with. This is written with surgical precision at my urgent request." "Why should I read this?" Marcus asked. "I really don't care. This wasn't written for you, Dad. It was written for the HR department at Mom's work." "And why should they care what Caroline did on her own time and with a non-company employee?" Marcus asked. "Dad," Amanda said, taking Marcus's hands with a sad expression on her face, "I need to tell you what happened after you kicked Mom out of the house. It will be painful, but it's better to hear it from me than from anyone else. You told her to stay with me tonight. You didn't want her around. You weren't sure. You didn't want to strike her again." "I know that," Amanda said. "When she complained that the drive was long, you advised her to find a motel or hotel to stay at." "Right," Marcus said. "Mom was in pain, not just because of the strikes, but she already realized how badly she had screwed up. No matter how angry you seemed, she knew that you were truly hurt by her behavior. She was confused, too. One minute you're helping her get ready for a date, which is clearly against your true nature, and the next you're striking her and yelling at her." "I never yelled at her," Marcus retorted. "I told her very sternly that I thought she was planning to make a fool of me by being intimate with another man. She claimed she never intended to be intimate with him." "I know, Dad," Amanda replied. "You couldn't come to a different conclusion." "Dad, when Mom left the house, she was hurt inside. She was confused and repentant. In her extremely emotional state, somehow she came to the conclusion that she should meet Richard Sterling, as she had planned, to tell him that everything between them was over and to never contact her again. At that time, she still thought he was a good guy, a friend. Then she was going to come to my house and spend the night. When she arrived at the hotel, she immediately went to the women's room. Her makeup was a mess, and her cheeks were still red and slightly puffy. When she was ready, she entered the restaurant and found her date, Richard, who already had a table for them. Mom didn't greet him with a peck on the cheek or a hug. He immediately realized that something was wrong. Mom got straight to the point, but before she could say it all, she started crying. Her date did everything he could to comfort her. He hugged her and told her everything would be okay. He ordered a glass of wine to help her calm down. When the wine arrived, she drank the entire glass in one go on an empty stomach. Richard told her not to worry about their relationship and that he understood. However, he suggested that perhaps she was overreacting. After all, they were just about to have dinner. Then he ordered a bottle of wine for the table. "He continued to criticize you, Dad, saying that your reaction was too over the top. No real man would ever hit a woman." The wine began to soften my mother, and she began to relax a little. She continued to drink the wine that Richard gave her. Soon my mother felt the full effect of alcohol. She told Richard that she had to leave and make the 2-hour drive to my house. He told her he didn't think she was fit to drive, and she probably wasn't. Mom told Richard that if she couldn't drive, she would get a hotel room and spend the night, and then drive to my house the next morning. Richard said he would check availability at the front desk. When he returned, he told her that the hotel was booked because of a convention in town. In addition, he invited her to rest for a few hours in his room. It was still early evening, and she could sleep for a few hours before she left. Apparently, Mom was very impaired and needed help just getting to the elevator. Once in Richard's room, he went from helping her to kissing her neck. My mother pushed him away and angrily told him that their relationship was over. All she wanted to do was lie down for a few hours. She said she felt dizzy and practically collapsed on the bed. Her date was kind enough to lift her feet onto the bed and take off her shoes. She seems to remember Richard massaging her legs, but she soon fell asleep. Marcus sat in silence, fascinated by the story unfolding before him. Amanda continued, "The next thing Mom remembers. It was over in just a few seconds. Mom told me she thought it was you. She didn't realize at that moment that she wasn't at home in your bed. Marcus slammed his hand on the table. So she slept with him anyway, he exclaimed. Dad? Amanda stopped him. Mom didn't consent to it. This guy, Marcus remembered that evening. Let's see. She dresses provocatively for a hot date, meets him at his hotel restaurant, they have a drink together, she goes up to his room of her own accord, and now claims no consent. Is this true? Yes, Dad, Amanda said. But that's not all. Early in the morning, when it was just beginning to get light outside, my mother woke up and realized that she was in bed with a man hugging her. He kept one hand on her chest and tried to be intimate with her again. She pushed the man away and jumped out of bed. Now sober, with only a headache, Mom realized what had happened. Richard got her drunk and then took advantage of her while she slept, and tried to do it again. She screamed at him and screamed that she never wanted him to be intimate with her. Richard laughed and told her that he didn't feel that way last night. Mom knew what had happened, and she immediately felt ashamed of herself for letting this man lead her down the garden path for months, and all he ever wanted to do was take advantage of her. Mom went to the bathroom, took a shower, cleaned herself up, and left the hotel. She returned home, hoping to find you there, tell you what happened to her, and ask for your forgiveness. Arriving at the house, she quickly noted that you had moved out. Mom was beside herself with guilt and shame. Then she called me and told me that she had a fight with you, that you hit her twice and kicked her out of the house. I told her to come to my house, and we would decide what to do after that. That's why I called you for the first time. When my mother came to my house, she was still confused. I asked her what happened. She avoided giving direct answers at the time because I think she was very ashamed of how she treated you so badly and what happened to her. She only told me that you two had a fight and that you struck her twice and then kicked her out of the house. She said nothing more before she retreated to the guest room and refused to tell me anymore. Only the next day I was able to find out the whole story from my mother. Judging by her behavior and tears, I believe that she told me everything exactly as it happened. I listened to all this and was not convinced, Marcus said. My wife got dressed for a hot date that involved more than dinner and dancing. What about the protection she hid in her purse? Can you tell me they weren't meant to be used later that night? You're going to have some faith, Dad. Mom said she explained that if she didn't accept them, then she wouldn't have the slightest chance of being intimate with him. But if she had them, then the only thing standing between her and the hotel room bed was her willpower. She wouldn't be with this man simply because she chose not to. She thought she needed to feel wanted. This sounded like nonsense to Marcus, and he said so. She'll have a hard time convincing me of that, he added. Amanda changed the subject. Dad, Mom found a counselor who will help her understand what she did and why. The counselor also wanted to meet with you, but you couldn't be found, and we decided you probably wouldn't participate anyway. Sometimes I come in instead of you, just to listen to what Mom says and understand what situation led to her stupidity. Marcus confirmed Amanda's conclusion that he would not have participated in counseling because he felt the problem was entirely of Caroline's making. Let her understand her actions, Marcus said. Amanda changed the subject again. Mom's HR department read Mom's statement about the incident, consulted with the firm's lawyer, and decided that any assault allegations against Richard would not prevail. It was a classic case of he said, she said. However, they passed on Mom's description of events to Richard's HR department. Richard readily admitted to being intimate with my mom but said it was consensual. The two HR departments agreed that it was a he said, she said scenario, and it would be futile to try to hold Richard accountable. However, Richard's company noted that it was inappropriate for one of their salespeople to be intimate with a married woman or anyone else in the company of a customer. Richard was fired from his job. Marcus and Amanda sat in silence for a long time. This was a lot of information for Marcus to absorb. He initially vaguely thought that he would stay away from Caroline for a while before giving her the opportunity to apologize to him for her actions. He knew it would be difficult to move forward, especially at first, but he thought that with time, their lives would return to normal. But now everything was different. She actually had been intimate with her so-called friend, And regardless of Amanda's description of events, Marcus wasn't sure it wasn't intentional on Caroline's part. He realized that there was a conflict within him that he could not resolve. His immediate solution to this was to do nothing at the moment. He was going to continue his alternative life and stay away from Caroline. He talked to Amanda from time to time, and she urged him to talk to his wife and sort things out. It was actually an open wound. It never occurred to Marcus to divorce Caroline. He could achieve almost the same thing by simply separating himself from his old life with her. Over the next few days and then weeks, Marcus continued to renovate his new home and also help his neighbors improve the appearance of their homes. He also resumed his career, finding, buying, renovating, and selling distressed properties. Among other things, he renovated and landscaped a small island in the middle of the cul-de-sac. It became a quiet place to relax in the middle of the day or evening, a meeting place for neighbors when they had a party, or an ideal place to celebrate a birthday. The local ladies found out that Marcus was a bad cook. Moreover, they learned that he usually ate a frozen sandwich for breakfast in the morning and a frozen dinner in the evening. To show their gratitude, the neighborhood wives organized the preparation of casseroles, meatloaves, soups, salads, desserts, and a variety of other dishes so that their generous new resident would be well provided with good food. Late in the afternoon, as Marcus was reviewing the cost spreadsheet for purchasing and renovating new property, there was a knock on the door. Without thinking about it, he saved his work on the computer and opened the door. It was not one of his neighbors as he thought. It was Caroline. "Caroline," Marcus said, "I didn't expect to see you here. How did you find me?" Caroline didn't answer his question. Instead, she said, "Can I come in?" Much of the anger inside Marcus that he had felt the last time he saw his wife had diminished. Marcus suddenly felt like he should be polite. "Please come in," was all he said, still stunned by his wife's sudden appearance. Caroline was clearly dressed for the occasion. She wore a simple white sundress and matching flats. Her hair was down and she looked fresh and clean. Caroline entered the house with several bags of groceries. "Where's the kitchen?" she asked. "I need to put this down." Marcus pointed to the swinging kitchen door adjacent to the dining room, and Caroline immediately walked through the door and placed the bags on the countertop. She returned and looked around. "It's a little sparse, but it's nice. I think you've fixed it up," she said. "Whatever it is," Marcus replied. "I haven't completely finished the renovation yet, but it's livable. Can I get a tour?" asked Caroline. "Of course," Marcus replied, and led her through the living room, down the hallway, through each of the bedrooms and finally into the master bedroom. At each stop, Marcus pointed out what he had already done and what he still needed to do. Caroline noted that compared to their real home, there wasn't much closet space. Marcus replied that he had more than enough and that his clothes only took up half of what he had. Caroline also commented on the double bed. "It's more than big enough for me," Marcus said. "And besides, a queen bed would fill up the room too much." Caroline didn't hesitate to make a couple of suggestions on things like curtains and carpeting. In the past, Marcus had often used her ideas in homes he had renovated. He then led her through the new French doors from the living room and onto the screened patio. Caroline loved the cozy atmosphere of the small patio and commented, "It would be great to relax here in the evening after dinner. I often relax here in the evening after dinner with a glass of my favorite dark red wine. It puts me in the mood for sleep." Back in the living room, Marcus had finally come to his senses after his wife's unexpected appearance. "How did you find me?" Marcus asked. "It wasn't easy," Caroline replied. "I was able to get some help and some insight into where you might be from your colleagues in your real estate office. I drove by a few days ago and saw your car in the carport. I thought long and hard about intruding on your new life, but I needed to see you at least for a little while. So I decided to come over and cook dinner for you. I know you're a terrible cook, so I brought everything I needed for a meatloaf dinner. I hoped you would tolerate me long enough to let me cook you dinner and then leave you alone again." She added, "You can help me in the kitchen, or you can do whatever you're doing, and I'll call you when dinner is ready. I have a spreadsheet program that I need to finish, and then I'll do what I can to help with dinner." When Marcus came into the kitchen 20 minutes later and offered to help, Caroline turned to him. a little teary-eyed, and said, "You don't really need my help, do you? Your refrigerator and freezer are full of food. I didn't find a single frozen dinner in the entire kitchen." "The neighbors' wives take very good care of me in terms of food," Marcus said. "I have helped several of my neighbors with small projects to improve the appearance of their homes, and they pay me with a casserole or brisket from time to time. However, I would absolutely love one of your meatloaf dinners, and I more than appreciate the fact that you came here to make this for me." "That's a weak excuse to see you again," Caroline replied. "I missed you so much. If you have read my letter to you, you know how sorry I am for treating you so badly. However, I wanted to tell you personally that I'm so remorseful for my actions. A stupid middle-aged lady who thought she needed a little fun in her daily life after a young, handsome salesman showed me some attention. I was such a fool." "Please, Caroline," Marcus said. "I know you're sorry, and Amanda told me what happened to you that night. At first, I thought you followed through, but Amanda was convinced you were being used and manipulated. I don't think she would mislead me just to make you seem less guilty. We don't need to talk about this anymore tonight," Marcus said, and the topic was closed. "Dinner's ready," Caroline said to change the subject. "This meatloaf will last you for days. I hope you like it." With that, Caroline picked up her purse and headed for the door. "Wait," Marcus exclaimed. "Won't you stay for dinner? I set up seating for 2 people at the table." "No, love," Caroline replied. "I desperately wanted to see you again, but I don't want to interfere with your new life. If you don't mind, I'd like to come back next Friday and cook dinner for you again." "That would be great," Marcus replied. "But next time, I'd like you to stay so we can have dinner together and enjoy a glass of wine on the patio." "I'd like that, Marcus, but I'll have to see how guilty I still feel." With that, Caroline walked out the door and soon drove away from Marcus's house. While Marcus was adjusting to living alone, he was also adjusting to not feeling lonely. Now, after the sudden departure of his wife, he felt lonely. Marcus's feelings for his wife were mixed. He was still hurt and a little angry that Caroline would even think about going on a date with someone other than himself. On the other hand, he missed being with his old wife. He felt like Caroline was trying to be that old wife again. The following Friday evening, Caroline showed up at the door again. This time, she had steaks that she wanted him to grill while she prepared the salad, potatoes, and vegetables. This time, Marcus was ready for her with a bottle of wine, which they both started drinking while they prepared dinner. They ate on the covered screen terrace at an outdoor table large enough for 2 people. The conversation was mostly light. Caroline asked Marcus about his job and the condition of the houses he worked on, and Marcus asked about Caroline's daily activities. Caroline admitted that she had a lot of time to herself these days. After she got home from work, she started reading a lot and even joined a book club. Marcus asked about the job and immediately regretted doing it. Caroline admitted that she still felt awkward being seen in the office. No one had ever told her anything about the incident with the sales representative, but everyone knew the story. After a pleasant evening, Caroline again brushed it off, saying she still didn't want to interfere with Marcus's new lifestyle. She added that she was looking forward to seeing him once a week and cooking dinner for him. Marcus agreed that this was a new routine that he would like to continue as well. One Thursday in the 4th week since Caroline started coming over to his house, Marcus emailed her to let her know that the people in his cul-de-sac were having a party on Saturday and that she didn't have to cook dinner on Friday or bring anything with her. She replied that she would at least bring a bowl of potato salad to the party. When Marcus opened the door, he was pleasantly surprised at how good Caroline looked. She was wearing a beautiful summer dress with a moderate neckline. They relaxed until it was time to go to the party, which started around 3 p.m. Caroline explained that she wanted to look good for the neighbors, but it was obvious to Marcus that she wanted to look good for him. Party organizers were busy arranging tables, and neighbors were bringing out lounge chairs to sit on. One of the neighbors was an avid barbecue enthusiast and would fire up the gas on his barbecue while cooking several $100s worth of steak, chicken, and sausage. Almost all the neighbors brought beer, wine, soft drinks, and hard liquor to the party. Marcus brought several bottles of his favorite dark red wine. When neighbors came over, Marcus introduced them to Caroline. They were all surprised by her presence and accidentally let slip that they didn't know if Marcus was actually married. Then, of course, they had to wonder why Marcus and Caroline weren't living in the same house together. Throughout the day and evening, Marcus received compliments on how beautiful and charming his wife was. At the same time, Caroline was told numerous stories about how much Marcus had done for the area. Several neighbors showed Caroline the improvements Marcus had made to their homes. Although all the neighbors were working men and women, Caroline said they had all taken a lot more pride in the appearance of their homes since Marcus moved in. Gradually, when everyone got used to eating and drinking, the men seemed drawn to each other and talked about sports, while all the women seemed to want to know more about Caroline and gathered around her. They all really wanted to know more about the relationship between Marcus and Caroline. Meanwhile, the children played together in the street and drew with chalk on the asphalt. It was already late evening when the party began to break up. Parents needed to put their children to bed. Most people helped wrap up the leftovers. As Marcus carried the beach chairs back to his house, he realized he had drunk a lot of wine. It was also obvious that Caroline was feeling a little tipsy as well. Once home, Caroline began packing her things in preparation for the trip home. "I don't think you should go home tonight," Marcus said. "You've had too much to drink." "What should I do?" Caroline replied, feeling like she shouldn't stay because she didn't want to push Marcus into an emotional corner. "You can stay in the extra bedroom," he said. "I have a t-shirt you can sleep in." "Thanks, Marcus," Caroline said, "but I don't want to cause you any trouble." Marcus disappeared into his bedroom and returned with a white t-shirt. Caroline took it, went into the bedroom, and closed the door. Marcus was turning off the lights and lowering the temperature when he heard Caroline calling his name. Turning, he saw his wife standing at the entrance to the corridor. She had taken off her dress and put on the t-shirt. Marcus had always favored tight t-shirts, and Caroline's t-shirt hugged her curves very nicely. Her breasts were clearly defined, as was her narrow waist, which had the t-shirt tucked around it. "Marcus, please. If you could, can you give me a good night hug before I go to bed?" Marcus was mesmerized by the figure in front of him. For a minute, Marcus forgot why he was angry with her and stepped forward to put his arm around her waist. Caroline, in turn, wrapped her arms around his neck and rested her head on his shoulder. They held each other close for only a few seconds before Caroline broke the hug and, without saying anything, hurried back to the bedroom and closed the door. Marcus was almost glad the hug was so short. He felt Caroline's body react. If the hug had lasted just a few seconds longer, she would have felt how much he wanted her. When Marcus woke up on Sunday morning, he had a slight headache, a hangover from the night before. He trudged into the bathroom to take a shower. Before doing this, he took 2 Excedrin tablets. He could tell by the sound of the shower in the family bathroom that Caroline had woken up before him. After getting dressed, Marcus wandered into the kitchen, where he found Caroline, dressed in his t-shirt, preparing a standard breakfast of bacon, eggs, toast, juice, and coffee. Caroline cheerfully told him, "Your neighbors may bring you food for dinner, but I don't think you usually have a good breakfast. All I found in the freezer were frozen breakfast sandwiches." Marcus replied, "I usually eat either a breakfast sandwich or a protein drink before I head out the door." Looking outside, Marcus noted that it was a nice sunny morning. "Why don't we have breakfast on the patio?" he suggested. "I'll set the table." After Caroline brought the food to the table, Marcus held her chair until she sat down. "It's a beautiful morning, Marcus. Thank you for last night, and thank you for this morning. This is the greatest happiness I have felt in a long time." "I feel the same way," Marcus replied. Caroline took the opportunity to gauge how Marcus felt about their relationship, but she didn't want to push things too hard or too fast. "Do you have any ideas about when you might want to come home?" she asked, trying to make it a normal question. After thinking about it for a few minutes, Marcus replied, "I don't know if I want to go home again." Caroline took this to mean he didn't want to be with her again, and she was sad but tried not to show it. "Well, if so, then I'll wait until you do. I'd like to continue coming here on Fridays and cooking you dinner. You don't mind?" "Yes, I would like that. I always thought you were the best chef in the world," Marcus said. Caroline was hurt that Marcus only wanted her for the cooking, but she had a feeling he wanted something more from her. However, she wasn't about to rush him. Caroline returned the following Friday afternoon. She looked good, wearing a pink pleated skirt and a cashmere sweater. The skirt was short enough to show off her shapely legs, and the sweater was tight enough to show off her proud chest and breasts. "What are you going to cook this time?" Marcus asked. "I brought 2 marbled ribeye steaks with me that are looking forward to being grilled. If you cook, I'll make a salad with lettuce, tomato, avocado, and bacon," she said. "I also brought 2 bottles of dark red wine. I was hoping to get so drunk tonight that you'd ask me to stay again." Marcus was oblivious to how his relationship with Caroline was developing. He saw that they were renewing their marriage, but he also knew that he still had anger issues. Perhaps this night would be a good time to air them out, he thought. But he didn't know how to start the conversation, and he didn't want a harsh discussion of the past. "We'll see how the evening goes," Marcus replied without making any commitments. Turning on the gas barbecue and closing the lid to let it heat up, Marcus walked into the kitchen, where Caroline was busy preparing a salad. He opened one of the bottles of wine and poured 2 glasses. He left one with Caroline and took the other out to the patio, along with the bottle, which he placed on a small table. After a while, Caroline brought the salad. Marcus took this as his cue to start cooking the steaks and threw them on the hot grill. "It will take about 10 minutes, he said. Caroline handed Marcus a glass of wine and raised it as if about to make a toast. "What are we going to toast to?" Marcus asked, but immediately regretted what he said. "I don't know what you want to drink to, but my toast is to my fervent hope that you will eventually let me into your life," she said. This toast made Marcus a little embarrassed. "We'll talk later," he said, returning to tend to the sizzling steaks. Several awkward minutes passed until Marcus announced that the steaks were ready and placed each one on a plate, which he placed on the table. Both Marcus and Caroline ate a large portion of salad. Marcus was about to start eating when he stopped and looked at Caroline. "I'm sorry things turned out this way," was all he said. Marcus's statement was so abrupt that it caught Caroline off guard. For a moment it looked like she was about to cry. She reached across the table and took Marcus's hand. "Thank you," she said. "I was so afraid that you thought I willingly slept with someone and that you would never forgive me," Marcus continued. "Sometimes I thought if I hadn't kicked you out of the house, this would never have happened." Still clutching Marcus's hand, Caroline said, "None of this was your fault. It was all me. I was a stupid old woman who allowed herself to be charmed by a smooth-talking salesman. I will never forgive myself for hurting you the way I did, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it, if you let me." "Well, this goes a long way in that regard," Marcus said to lighten the mood. After dinner, when the dishes were washed and put away, Marcus asked Caroline if she wanted to watch a movie. When she said yes, he asked her if she had any romantic movies she would like to see. Caroline told him she wanted him to put on a movie that he wanted to see. "You know, I like action movies that are rated R for violence and language." "It's normal," she replied. "I want to see everything you want to see. I'll watch romantic movies with my daughters and girlfriends." Marcus looked at a few options on Netflix and chose something that he thought he would like and that met his criteria. "The film is starting," he announced. Caroline came out of the bathroom where she had freshened up. She was wearing his favorite rose-scented perfume. Without asking, she pressed herself so close to him that he had to put his hand on her shoulder. When he did, Caroline laid her head on his chest, and they continued watching the movie. It didn't escape Marcus's notice that Caroline's skirt was hiked up above mid-thigh and the top buttons of her sweater were undone, revealing a fair amount of cleavage. Marcus had always thought Caroline was attractive. However, it was the events that unfolded around her date that completely turned him away from her, no matter how physically beautiful she was. The movie was less than halfway through before Marcus realized that Caroline was asleep and breathing easily. He continued to let her sleep until the movie ended and then gently woke her up. "Are you going to let me stay tonight, aren't you?" she asked, standing up. "Because," she continued, "I don't think I should be driving home this late. Besides," she added, "I brought my pajamas with me." "Yeah, you can stay," Marcus agreed. As Caroline disappeared into the guest bedroom, Marcus was turning off the TV and lights when Caroline reappeared wearing the most revealing black baby doll nightgown Marcus had ever seen. It stunned him for a moment. "How do you like my new pajamas?" Caroline asked, posing for Marcus and speaking in a seductive voice. "I like them," Marcus said, looking intently at his wife. "I forgot how alluring you can be when you want to impress me." Encouraged, Caroline walked up to Marcus and wrapped her arms around his neck, pressing her body against his. "I don't want either of us to sleep alone tonight," she whispered in his ear. Caroline could feel her husband reacting to her body. "I know you haven't fully forgiven me for what I did, but please don't let that stop you from enjoying this evening to the fullest. You can do whatever you want to me. Anything." Any resistance Marcus had to Caroline's charms melted away in an instant. Her lips were waiting for him as he kissed her with intensity. As they shared a long, heated kiss, Marcus pushed Caroline's hair back, causing her head to fall back as well. Marcus kissed his wife's throat and then her neck. Caroline sighed softly and said quietly, "Yes, yes, yes." Marcus picked his wife up, carried her into his bedroom, and laid her gently on the bed. Caroline held out her arms to Marcus as he joined her. "How could I have thought that being with that manipulative salesman could be better than this?" Caroline thought as she embraced her husband. Marcus didn't disappoint her. Over the past few months, he had accumulated a lot of energy, and Caroline looked more attractive than she had at any time in years. Marcus thought to himself, maybe a break from everyday life is the key to rekindling passion. That night, Marcus and Caroline reconnected before falling asleep in each other's arms. The next morning, over breakfast on the patio, Caroline asked in a pleading voice, "Marcus, I think you know how bad I feel about the way I treated you. You should also know that I will never do anything like that again. I know what will happen to me if I do, but we have been separated for almost 6 months. Don't you think it's time to return home and resume our life together as it was?" Marcus stopped eating and wiped his mouth with the napkin, thinking about his answer. "Caroline, I thought about it, but I changed my mind. First of all, that house is too big for me right now. When we had 3 growing children, it was perfect, but now it's just not necessary. Besides, I never really fit in with our neighbors. They are all college graduates and professional people, while I barely have a high school diploma. I never had much in common with them. But you make at least as much money as they do on the houses you renovate, and our house has been renovated much better than most in the area thanks to your contractor and landscaper friends. What I'm trying to say, Caroline, is that this is my home now. This is where I want to live. These are the kind of neighbors I want to have. When completely renovated, this home will be the perfect size and function for my needs. No, Caroline, I'm not going back to our old house. However, it is paid for and I consider it a great investment. You are completely free to live there as long as you want." Caroline's face suddenly became sad. "Oh, Marcus, this is not what I wanted." Caroline quickly stood up from the table. "I have to go," she announced, putting on a brave face. In just a few minutes, Caroline gathered all her things and walked out the door. Marcus felt bad. He didn't mean to hurt her like that. However, he was sure that he wanted to live in his new house and make it his new home. He didn't hear anything from Caroline for 2 weeks. Then, late Friday afternoon, there was a knock on his door. When he opened it, Caroline was standing there with 3 suitcases. "I have 2 more in the car," she said. "What's happening?" Marcus asked as he stepped aside, letting Caroline pass and taking her 3rd suitcase. Caroline set down her 2 suitcases, turned around, wrapped her arms around Marcus's neck, and kissed him passionately. "If you want to live in this house, then this is my house too. I don't think you'll like this house, Caroline. It barely has the space you need for all your stuff, especially clothes. In the other house, you have clothes in every bedroom closet. Even in the guest room, there's only half a closet where guests can hang their clothes. I gave away almost all my clothes. Most of what I have left is in these suitcases and the trunk of the car," she said boldly. "You'll have to come up with a little more wardrobe space than what you have." Marcus already knew that the master bedroom had very little closet space, and he had tentative plans to open up a wall to the adjacent bedroom, which he used as an office. "What about work?" Marcus asked. This place is a 45-minute drive from your office, and morning and afternoon traffic jams are even longer. I don't have a job anymore, Caroline said. I submitted my resignation. It wasn't much fun to work all day and then come home to an empty house. I was still the talk of the office, and there were even some salespeople who indirectly attacked me based on the rumors that were going around. Besides, you always told me that you make enough money that I don't need to work, so now I'm not going to. Caroline, Marcus said critically, I know you don't want to sit in a small house all day. There will be no one to talk to, not even the neighbors. In most of these families, both husband and wife work, with the exception of wives who care for babies and small children. I thought I could do some charity work. Even though my bachelor's degree is outdated, I earned a degree in accounting and a minor in psychology. Additionally, I studied Spanish in both high school and college. I thought I could help in the area of broken families and battered women. And the first broken family I want to restore is ours. With that, Caroline hugged and kissed her husband again. Marcus already knew he was going to take her back. He just didn't know how to do it. Caroline took the lead. I hope you didn't give away all your cocktail dresses and dancing shoes, Marcus whispered in her ear. I have a couple left. Why do you ask? I just thought it would be nice if we went on a fancy date once a month. If not more, Marcus replied. I wouldn't mind sometimes dressing up in a dark suit and going out dancing with a beautiful woman who looks absolutely alluring in a cocktail dress. I might even want to splurge on a night in a fancy hotel room rather than drive home. Caroline was beaming with joy. I'd like to do that too, she said, and once again kissed her husband with passion. Welcome home, Caroline, Marcus said as he picked up his wife and carried her into the bedroom. Thank you for your viewing. See you next time. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to JK Tells a Story for more tales.